I appreciate that you said it sounds cliche. That is so respectful. What is that defined? What does that mean? And then you're doing this, and I am very proud. You did come in as an advertising sales executive, and then because of your ethics and because of your perseverance and continued success, it's like what the heck is Tim doing to make him successful? And he is continuing to do this. And it is that foundation, because it's just like, you're talking about, that's like a house, and you build that foundation, because you don't want, just like the three little pigs, when the house blows over, you want there to be some strength there if a storm comes through. So we don't just build our houses out of twigs and straw and that kind of thing. But you put yourself in a place where not only you're doing this, where your sons are leaning on you, which is so admirable that that's part of your motivation, but that, your team can call you and say, this sucks. I love my job. I sold, so much yesterday. Today sucks. How can you get me out of this? And this was supposed to happen with this particular prospect or whatever, and it didn't. And salespeople are so passionate and so loving and so giving that it really does hurt. It hurts the ego when it doesn't come through. But I remember I was taught this, and it goes along with what you're saying. In the next phase is preparation. And the preparation is that if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing every single day, right? Then when that guy comes through on Wednesday morning and says the board didn't want to move forward right now, hey, call me in a year. And I mean, that could have been a $10,000 deal or something pretty amazing that would have meant, hundreds of dollars, if not thousands to you, that you have all these other guys lined up behind you. So that's that preparation and that pipeline. And so my next question to you is, when we talk about foundation, I want to ask you, and I can just open it up to both things. How do you define foundation, and how do you define preparation?
Yeah, so foundation, and I think you said it great, in that it's, building that short foundation for a house. And so foundation for me is, again, knowing why I'm doing this. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to be moved by a bad no. And then moving into preparation, that's going to be, making sure that I have, and what I do is, I was hired to make high call volumes to sell a product. Mm-hmm. So call volume is going to be my number one avenue of success. And preparation for that means that I have to make sure that I'm coming into my sell week, with the people that I'm going to call. Not that I'm sitting down Monday morning, open up my computer, and putting a game plan together.
Right.
We'll go to football. Football, they watch the previous games. They're watching videotape. They're getting prepared before Sunday. They don't wake up Sunday and say, okay, we're playing the Browns.
Yeah.
We're playing the Patriots. What are we going to do? So that foundation in preparation is key. And preparation is making sure that you're ready to go out there, go nonstop, and have a plan of action as your day goes about, and that you're not just shooting from the hip, so to speak. Mm-hmm. When you have that foundation and the preparation, then again, challenges may rise up, but mm-hmm. you're already prepared for that challenge. Let's say that you're calling, verticals. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be calling senior centers today. Okay. And you get in there, you find out for whatever reason, today's National Senior Center Day, offices are closed, they're having their thing. And so instead of just being thrown off my game, okay, my next step is I already have, I'm going to reach out to restaurants. But I'm going to have to reach out to restaurants before, lunch hour. Mm-hmm. And just having a game plan, setting together a call block, and being able to be versatile in that, and because things change, so when you have that preparation, something may change. And again, just like sports, that you call an audible. You have to be ready to call that audible to move right along to the next thing, to make sure that your day's not going to get, jammed by a traffic jam, and you have no other route planned.
So when you talk about this preparation, and this is where I think salespeople get lost, is that, and I'm talking sales professionals, you speak of high call volume, but you're not just calling anybody. You just mentioned it. Look, I know I'm not going to call on National Senior Center Day when everybody's closed in there. I'm calling restaurants at a specific time. I'm calling plumbers at a specific time. And again, folks who are listening, we will reference, this is advertising sales that we're talking about, but you can implement this into any type of direct sales. So what Tim is speaking of is that when he shows up Monday morning, he doesn't just say, I'm going to call 50 plumbers this week. He knows he's calling 123 Plumbing, ABC Plumbing, Bev's Plumbing, Tim's Plumbing. He knows specifics. He's got the phone numbers, everything. So when you line those things up, you can't avoid it. The company names, the contact names, and the phone numbers are staring you in the face. So this is preparation. It's not just this vague, oh, yeah, well, I know my job is to call people. I know my job is to introduce myself, my company, our services. No, you need to know exactly and have these lists. People think, oh, high call volume, that's telemarketing. No, it's not. No, it's not. It is a concise, this is the vertical, Tim mentioned, vertical that I'm going to call. And this is what I'm going to say to them and how this will benefit them. Because when you're calling a senior center to advertise, the benefits behind them advertising and who they're going to reach and what their market reach is completely different from what a plumber or a realtor, for example, and why they would want to reach. So part of that preparation is what you're going to say to each vertical.
And for sure, you're right. And that's why I like to plan my verticals in succession, because I don't want to call a plumber or call a realtor. I like to get in the groove. So if I'm going to call plumbers, we're calling all plumbers, and we're going to get in that groove. We're going to, get that flow going of what we're talking about, and then moving on. But you're correct, having that game plan together, and it's way above, telemarketing, and nothing against telemarketing, but I don't have a script in front of me. I'm having conversations. I'm having business conversations with potential advertisers about how I can help their business grow. If I'm stuck to a script, then there's nowhere to go with that. But I'm asking open-ended questions, and sometimes, depending on what vertical I'm calling, I might have some of those questions, down. I think, Bev, one thing that you asked us to do in training is to have 4 to 5 go-to questions.
Yep.
And I think that's always key, to have 4 to 5 go-to questions that are open-ended, that are going to tell you how to sell, that customer that you're working with.
Agreed. And you know what, Tim, the one thing you mentioned, and I want to clarify that as well. You said not that there's anything wrong with telemarketing. There isn't. But a lot of times people think in their head that if they're making a high volume of calls, that it becomes telemarketing. The difference between telemarketing is only volume. So when someone tells you no need, no time, no interest, no money, starts laying out objections to you, you say, okay, and go to the next one. Because telemarketing is more about mass, and it's kind of like fishing, just putting the line out there and hoping something bites. But I went fishing recently with my nephew, and he's in his 40s, so when I say that, but I went fishing with him recently, and he was going to different parts of the lake. And honestly, I was a little girl, and I fished with my dad, and and my brothers, just a little bit enough to know, first of all, they were the experts. Fish is delicious, and I loved when they caught fish. But when I actually went out with my nephew, he was like, we're going to go over there. I know we will get a bite there. So he was going into these little areas, these little alcoves with, maybe a branch, a big, tree may have fallen in the water, and he was wanting to go into those areas. To me, that's a bit like telemarketing, because the plan is to go over there where I know the fish are, and I'm just going to throw the line in the water and just keep trying until I get a bite. With sales and foundation and passion and preparation that we speak of, it's a little bit more of, I'm going to stick in this pool of realtors or plumbers or whatever, because I know this is an amazing product for them. And so I am going to call and let them know I only have so much space advertising wise, and that they should consider this, and here's why. And then you have your value added statements and value added questions and your benefit questions and statements. And so I love that what you're sharing with the audience and even me, you're always an inspiration, is that it's more concentrated than that. And it's more of a part of planning. I know that when I trained, I love to, going into a sales call, 99% of the time they're going to say no need, no time, no interest, no money. They've got those things laid out, right? So you prepare for them to say, I do not have a need for this. And you know exactly what you're going to say in response to that. And that's the nitty gritty of what we trained about and talked about. Now, You've had a brand new objection that I'll bet businesses, even though they needed to advertise or say we're still here, or we're opening up we've got dining outside for restaurants, or, we're still doing carry out for restaurants, that kind of thing. Because I know when this thing happened, I am, I'm not going to pull the age card, but I'm older than you. I've never seen anything like this in my life. And so I was thinking about you guys out there, and that is a new objection. Look, COVID has cut us off at our Achilles. I couldn't think of advertising. How did you overcome that? And continue to, I suppose. Especially because are you doing any travel? You're primarily working in Michigan.
Yeah, I have not traveled since March 16th, since we were sent home from the field.
Yeah. So that's a new objection. And I've thought about it, and I've even had, some of your colleagues call me and say, how can I get around that objection? What have you been doing with that objection?
So, there's so many struggles coming around this unprecedented, time. And that's a word that I type so much now, and I say so much, that it's an unprecedented time. As you said, you've never seen anything like this before. So there's definitely a lot of challenges. And there's a fine line of being a salesperson and being a human being during times where, we're experiencing sickness and death, and people are having to deal with, layoffs and furloughs, and, so there's a fine line of being a salesperson and pushing, and then also being human. Mm-hmm. And I think early on, that's a balance that you had to really, learn. Because at a previous company that I worked for, we were told to sell through the first 3 no's. If you don't get 3 no's on the call, then you keep pushing, for that sell. So it was a very grimy sales position. They wanted you to push through those no's.